Welcome to the Region Free Gamers podcast. Today, rocket slimes, Yakuza, aliens, and Mahjong?
Nani?
Hey guys, Arnie here, and welcome back to the Region Free Gamers podcast, the podcast that is fluent in gaming. I know we've said this before, but if you enjoy the show and what we do here, please make sure that you rate and review our podcast on iTunes or whichever platform you listen to us on. It helps us out so much, and it helps new people discover the podcast. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. So without further ado, let me introduce my lovely co-host for this episode. Calling in from the northern reaches of Finland, we have Masa.
Hey, yo.
From the wilds of the Canadian Yukon Territory, we have Paul.
Yep, my name's Paul. I like video games.
And our very special guest host, listener and friend of the show, the Gaming Thunder from the land down under, Luke.
Hi, my name's Luke, and I also like video games. It's in my name. You stole it from me, Paul.
I know. I do.
You know what? I just wanted to do the simplest thing possible when introducing myself. I swear, dude, I didn't mean to steal it. I'll have to come up with something else. My name's Paul. I like moose.
So Luke, just for our listeners who may not be familiar with your work, can you give us just 3 quick facts off the top of your head about yourself?
Oh, God. Well, I'm
put
from
you on the spot
Australia.
immediately.
Does Australia count as a fact? I'm an Australian. I'm from Australia.
Right.
I'll let that one slide. I mean, I think we would have been able to guess it from your voice, but
Cool.
All right.
My other 2 facts are my name's Luke, and I like games. That's 3, right?
Perfect.
I have another fact.
All right.
Go.
He's lazy. Anyhow.
Lord. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be having a discussion about what we've all been playing recently. We used to do these at the top of our older episodes, but in order to expand the breadth of some of our more recent topics, we're going to be spinning it off into its own segment. We're also going to be answering some listener questions. Since this is, something a little bit newer, please let us know what you think, as we're planning to do more episodes like these in the future. So we would love any feedback you have. And obviously, just to assuage some fears, these episodes will not affect our regular production cycle or regular episodes. So no need to worry about that. With all that disclaimer out of the way, Masa, why don't you start off by telling us what you've been playing recently?
Okay, so it's actually funny. Like recently, we had a discussion, between the main hosts, about like this segment and in general, like. And, we came to the conclusion that maybe we have been talking about Yakuza a little bit too much so far.
No.
No, like, I mean, I was like, God damn it, man. Like, you can never talk too much about Yakuza. Like, I mean, it's Yakuza, come on. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, Ozzy, I know you are not here. I know you are in, France, buying video games and stuff, but like, I'm sorry, dude, but like, this will be another like Yakuza fest. I'm sorry.
It probably will be.
But, yeah, okay, so a couple of other things. I actually played the demo for Mega Man 11 yesterday. And, okay, I don't really have that much to say because I have talked about it, before on this show, and the demo is almost the same. Except that, like, yesterday I was playing it, I was like, yeah, man, like this, like, it's a really good game. Like, it really feels like a legit old school Mega Man game, except with, like, a bit more, like, improved graphics and gameplay mechanics. But also, I was sadly reminded of, like, why I didn't, participate in that Mega Man episode we just did recently. Because, oh my god, I still can't believe. Like, I still can't beat that, demo stage.
Okay, so on the demo stage, did you get stuck at the part where the wall starts closing in on you?
Yes, and you have to blow up the blocks?
No, that was easy. Like, I mean, I actually...
That was easy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that's nothing. Like, that's nothing because, like, I mean, I remember, like, when I was, like, queued up for the demo at, like, Japan Expo in Paris a couple of months ago, like, I saw like someone, you know, like that person was even worse than me, like when it comes to Mega Man. Like he didn't even, you know how to, you know, charge your buster and stuff, and didn't know, you know, how to do the slide thing. And I was watching him and laughing at him. I mean, even with like my Mega Man skills, I mean,
So
yeah, exactly. But still, I mean, I saw like what he was, you know, doing, and I kind of like saw the level. Like he somehow got lucky and made like quite far into the level. So yeah, like, I mean, that part isn't bad, but there's these like two, like mid bosses, and I just can't figure out the patterns. So
gotcha.
that's like I made it, through the first one, but then, you know, there's a second one near the end of the stage, and yeah, I mean, I was just like really low on health at that point, and I just, you know how, like, what happens to Mega Man, like, he just explodes, so that's what happened to me. But yeah, I'm actually like, when I played the game for the first time, I was like, yeah, this is really promising. But now that I, you know, played the demo again, and what's cool is that they actually like added, I'm not sure what the power-ups are called here, but like, you have like some kind of like electric attack, and, so like the demo basically starts, after you have like beaten a couple of robot masters, so you have like their skills. But yeah, like, I mean, I kind of feel like yesterday when I played the game, it like really like clicked, and I was like, yeah, like I actually, like now I'm fairly sure that I'm gonna get the game. And even though, I mean, I suck at Mega Man, but still, I mean, I had a lot of fun, and like the difficulty is just, I don't, like, it's not bad. I mean, it's definitely challenging, but it's not like unfair.
Yeah.
So like whenever I died, it was basically, you know, due to my lack of skill and not due to like, you know, the game being unfair.
Have you
See, I almost agree with you there. Like that part where the wall is closing in and you have to destroy the blocks and jump. There's this one part where I destroy some blocks and then I can't jump through. Like, I'm doing a horrible job of describing it right now.
Yeah.
But like, whenever I try and jump through this little gap, Mega Man keeps hitting his cute little head on the ceiling, and I'm like, just like jump through, and then I'm dead. And it happened like 3 or 4 times in a row, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna buy this game anyway. I've already got it pre-ordered. But
oh yeah, by the way, like one thing about that part is that if you know, like at minimum, it's gonna be like kind of like 2 walls. But like if you know, clear it like fast enough, it's just gonna be 2. But if you know, if you're a bit slow, then there's gonna be like another wall, at least in the first demo that I played. I'm not sure about the final version.
And I didn't use the gear that slows time either. I realized afterwards, because that's a new game mechanic that I'm not used to. So I didn't use that, and that probably didn't help my case at all.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I'm blaming the game, but really it's just obviously a lack of skill, let's be honest.
I will say, I haven't played it yet, but I've seen playthroughs of the demo, so I've seen the Robot Master and that fight and how that all works. The art style for this game, like the design, is amazing. I'm really like, I love it. Digging it so hard.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it looks
like,
great, yeah.
It's like a nice blend of like, not purely old school Mega Man, but with some like cell shading thrown in. You know, all the character design is like spot on. Like whoever they got to do the new Robot Masters and stuff, very like well done in comparison to like other Mega Mans. It definitely feels like it follows through that same line.
Yeah, even his jump animation, his jump sprite looks good, right?
Oh my god.
I mean, obviously it'll never look quite as ridiculous as the NES one, just because. But they do a pretty good job approximating it.
So I thank you for reminding me, because the playthrough I was watching of it, they mentioned that apparently this isn't like controversial, but some people are upset about it, where you know how whenever you get to the Robot Master door, some people like to jump up when you hit the door, so like Mega Man just like stays floating in the air while he's
oh my god, I knew this was coming because I actually like I read a topic about that.
They don't let you do that anymore. Like when you jump up, like, Mega Man just drops down and walks through the door.
Yeah.
That's unconscionable.
I mean, that's like automatic, like let's say, like, you know, like when it comes to rating a game, that's like automatically like 1 star off the rating.
No, but it really is. And the funny thing is, Arnie, when you started off your sentence with the word people on the internet are upset.
Yeah.
I like, anytime I hear that, I instantly start laughing because people on the internet are upset about fucking everything.
I know.
And so I just make fun of them as a matter of course.
But I thought this would be a legitimate grievance for you.
No, you know what? This actually is a legitimate grievance. Like, I hope they patch it somehow.
No, that's gonna be paid DLC.
They're gonna make like a 8-bit Mega Man skin that will also allow you to hover in the air as you jump through the Robot Master door.
I would pay 99 cents for that. I really would. Yeah. Luke, have you seen this game? Like, have you played the demo or anything?
I have not. I've a bit of a confession. I've never played a Mega Man game. I did read that article about the door thing though, and I was so fascinated because I didn't understand the outcry.
Can you kick Luke off the podcast right now?
Let me disconnect the call.
Like, just disconnect him.
As somebody who's like sole experience with Mega Man is like watching superiorly skilled people play through it on the internet, I feel uniquely qualified to judge Luke on never having played a Mega Man.
Massa, was that me that you saw at the convention recently, not being able to? It could have been me.
Okay, so yeah, once again, like, I mean, I'm a person who has never beaten a Mega Man game.
Right.
So.
Oh, cool, same.
I don't think I can judge anyone, really.
We're in the same boat, so that's great.
Yeah, pretty much. And that boat is sinking really fast.
My goodness. Before, you know what, I have to kind of interrupt the flow of the show here. Because I realized right after Luke introduced himself that he's a very humble fellow. If you guys want to actually find out where this guy is, you can find him on Instagram. He's at Luke Likes Games. And I'm serious though.
No,
he does more than just live in Australia.
Yeah, that is true. That is a fair point.
He posts kick-ass videos on Instagram that make me laugh every time I see them.
Yes.
And great pictures and so on.
Yeah, he's like one of the funniest guys on Instagram, like easily. And he likes video games.
Yeah, it's in his name.
It's in the name.
I want you to change your Instagram handle, like, temporarily to just Luke from Australia or something.
A lot of people request that I change it to Luke Loves Games, and I'm like, oh, it sounds so wrong. Yeah, I don't like it at all.
That's too much of a commitment on your part.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is when you start talking about Galgun, right? then it becomes a little bit of an issue.
About what?
No, but they could like Luke could like change his name to like Luke Likes Ludes for that game.
Oh. I don't know what that would do to your SEO and your Instagram profile.
I don't know. We could try and find out.
Yeah.
I'm down for it.
Yeah. And I know we'll definitely circle back to Yakuza, Masa, because I've also been enjoying some of that. But I do wanna ask Luke what he's been playing, since he is our esteemed guest this week.
Ooh, cool. So I have been a little bit absorbed in a tiny little game called Dragon Quest XI.
Oh yes.
Oh boy.
Any of you guys playing this at the moment?
Not currently.
No,
but
I'm not.
Not at the moment, no.
I am playing a game with myself where I am continuously envious and enraged of all people who are currently playing it.
It's real good. I've been really excited about this one for so long.
Yeah.
So, back when my mum first bought me a PlayStation 2, one of the first games I ever got was Dragon Quest VIII. It was given to me as a birthday gift, and it was at a time when I didn't really know about like JRPGs as a genre, I guess. Like, I enjoyed Pokemon, but that was about it.
Yeah. And
so I booted this game up and lost about 100 hours of my life to it. That's not an over-exaggeration. I spent a lot of time. I was a full-blown addict for months. And so, like, it made me fall in love with, like, I guess, gaming as well as, like, the JRPG genre, which is now my favorite genre. Yeah. So So Dragon Quest 8 is like a big deal for me. And we haven't had a Dragon Quest on home console, like a main title game on home console since then. I think it was like 2006 it came out here in Australia.
Yep.
So it's been like 12 years. And so when it dropped the other week, I was very excited. So I'm like,
damn, it's been that long.
It's been
Holy,
very long. Yeah.
Yeah, Dragon Quest sort of had that weird switch to handheld gaming for some reason, starting with 9. 9 came out on the DS, and then they just started doing remakes of the older ones.
Yeah, that's correct. So 7 then came out. Oh, well, so 9 came out on the DS. They also ported 4 and 5 and 6 to the DS.
Yep.
And then 7 and 8 hit the 3DS. And yeah, so then there was 9 on the DS. 10 came out not in English speaking countries. That was a Japan only one. And that was also an MMO. Strangely enough.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, now we're up to 11 and, it's been fantastic. I'm like 20-ish hours in. I'm just sort of playing it in my spare time when I can.
Nice.
And yeah, it's been wonderful. Just like a true, like return to form. All the charm and loveliness of, what you'd expect from Dragon Quest as a series. But they've sort of, I guess, modernized, like turn-based as a whole system is, I guess a lot of people think it's dated because it feels so slow these days compared to like stuff like Spider-Man and that's coming out. And it's all really exciting. So to sort of combat that, they've turned on the ability to be able to run battles automatically. So if you're out grinding and stuff, you can just assign all your characters to fight a particular style and you can initiate battles, hit fight, and then just leave it be for, however long it takes to finish the fight. So bits like that sort of make it a little bit more approachable. Also, no random encounters. Everything, like all the enemies you can see on the world map now instead of like just coming into them randomly. So
yeah.
They did that with the port of 8 onto 3DS because originally that was random encounters, but then on the 3DS port, they made it so you could see the enemies on screen.
Yeah. So I know you've only been playing for 20-ish hours, which is not a whole bunch of time in Dragon Quest terms.
No.
Does this one feel as grindy as the other ones? Because I don't know. Personally, whenever I've played Dragon Quest, I've enjoyed all the games I've played. But for the most part, it's usually a question of eventually you'll hit a boss that you can't beat right away. So you have to go grind up levels or jobs or whatever it is in that game that you need to do. And then you'll be able to beat him.
Sure. So, as again, I'm sort of early days still. So far I have not had to grind at all.
Okay.
It's been pretty easy combat wise. I haven't had any major struggles at all. I'm sure that'll sort of change as I get further on, but, for now it's been, pretty cruisy. And I've been sort of, I guess, in some parts I've been avoiding enemies as well now that I can do that in Dragon Quest. Just to speed things up. So it's, I haven't had any trouble so far, which is good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm sort of playing for the story and the charm, not the difficulty. So for me, it's actually I read a review just before it came out that sort of compared the Dragon Quest games to I guess like bedtime stories. Some it's like they're like a warm hug. They're like hanging out with your mates in this little fantasy world, and I really like that. I like that escapism aspect, I guess. So
yeah, for sure.
Especially if that's the series that like introduced you to gaming and JRPGs. Like
absolutely.
to have that on top of the just general aesthetic of it. Yeah, that's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's real wonderful.
By the way, how's the I know I have played the game for a little bit. I don't own it, but I got to play the demo or like an event demo a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy it because it does really feel like a modern version of a like one of those like classic JRPGs.
Yeah.
Which is really nice because nowadays, especially with Square Enix, like you have Final Fantasy and they are they get really experimental with Final Fantasy, but then it's nice getting something more traditional. But one thing that kind of bothered me that about the game was, and this also applies to other JRPGs, especially like Persona, but this silent protagonist, how does it feel like? Because in many games, it kind of feels like when you have these like story segments, it kind of feels like the protagonist really isn't, present at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, it is what it is. I don't think that can, like, if they're going to choose a silent protagonist, I don't think that can really be improved on in the way that, like, you want it to be. It is what it is. I don't mind it. Like, it's fine. So, yeah, I don't know. No comment.
It's, the silent protagonist thing is weird because in theory, I dislike it.
Yes.
But in practice, whenever I play Ys or Persona, I don't mind it. Yeah. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, I find the whole thing very confusing,
To me, it actually, like, it annoys me, like, when you actually have, like, a set character, like in personal games, like, you can, change the appearance or anything. And also, like, in Ys, like, Adol, he's got his name, like, you can, change the name or anything. But then, just, like, I understand that in some games where you can, like, customize the character, you can't, like, be your own avatar, so it's a bit different. But then again, they did that in Mass Effect games, like, you can customize the character, but you still have, like, dialogue options for the character, and, like, the character is, like, fully voiced and all that. So, I guess it's just, like, a Japanese thing.
It must be. I don't see any Western developer doing this. I only ever see Japanese. Maybe it's because I don't know, man. Maybe it's because they're such like a humble society. So, the protagonist is just this quiet, strong person who doesn't say too much, doesn't get involved, just kind of quietly does their work and gets hit on by all the girls in the game.
Isn't the idea to be able to like project yourself onto that character, I guess?
Yeah,
is pretty much.
I think that's it.
The idea is the silent protagonist is basically just a stand-in for you.
Yeah.
So by not injecting him with any specific personality, you can just assume that he would do what you would do in that situation, or say what you would say.
Which is great in Persona, because like the amount that the main character gets hit on by like every single girl in the game. Really true to my life. Absolutely.
That's the way you live every single day.
Oh man, I can't keep them off me.
Tough gig.
I mean, the thing I will say is I think I see where Masa's coming from. But my whole thing is I think I kind of prefer the silent protagonist, if only because the voice protagonists that I've played, especially in some RPGs, have just been so annoying, and I'm just like...
Oh, good point.
Are you talking about Final Fantasy X or something?
I'm talking about, Final Fantasy X, like, I did enjoy 15, but Noct was not necessarily my cup of tea, like, through most of it. I was like, so you run the risk of creating a character that people just don't like if you choose to fully voice the main character. Obviously, it gives you a lot more flexibility when creating a actual story that they can actively participate in. But I don't know. I think there's pros and cons to both. But I think I've seen it more successfully done with a silent protagonist than with a fully like developed one, or fully voiced one at least.
Well, yeah, I would say it kind of depends. Like, for example, in a game like, let's say, Xenoblade Chronicles X, it's really jarring because in many story scenes, it kind of feels like your own protagonist, like, you have a silent protagonist, and like, the character isn't even present in these, like, story scenes. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of like there's just like a plant or a tree in the house, or like in the, the room. Like, I mean, it's just the same. Like, the character doesn't have any expressions. It's just like your character is just like standing there. And it's like, yeah, like, what's the deal? Like I'm supposed to be like the main character of this game, and then I don't even do anything.
Yeah, you sort of fade into the background a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. I think it works a little bit better in games. I think it has to be something like Persona or like Dragon Quest, where it's something so like out of the ordinary that the fact that your character isn't super, I guess it doesn't work as well. It works a lot better in Dragon Quest, where like this is just part of the normal world. So for your character, like, this isn't crazy. Whereas in Persona, your character's always like super cool, even though there's just like Satan just like showed up and is like, chilling. But I don't know. I think circling back to Dragon Quest, I will say the one thing that I was sort of iffy about when 11 was coming out, and I think they nailed it, is I didn't know how they were going to translate Toriyama's art to sort of a modern age console. I was kind of afraid they try to HDify it too much, but from what I've seen, at least of the locations and like the monster designs and stuff, it looks gorgeous. I was like,
the style's definitely still there, which is really, really nice.
Yeah, which especially as like a first JRPG in your case, like if I had played a Dragon Quest game when I was young, like absolutely would have made like an indelible impression on me. Like those designs are iconic and they're very much like approachable. Like they're very distinct in that you can always tell, what these monsters are. Yeah. But they're just fun, and they're not, they're not meant to be scary like other JRPGs for the most part, but it's just like such an engaging and like vibrant world that I'm glad they were able to bring that to like the PS4 without sort of making it, hyper realistic or anything like that.
Yeah. It like, everything's these days is trying to be like so like gritty and dark and, exciting, and like Dragon Quest to me is, as I said earlier, it's just like a warm hug. It's like this lovely, friendly world, and everyone's happy and charming and beautiful, and it's a real nice escape. I really do enjoy it. So yeah,
nice.
I think that might be like the best sales pitch for the game. Right?
It's a hug.
It's like it's bright, it's colorful, it's fun. I don't know, man. That's kind of what I want out of my games these days.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah,
and like to be honest, I really do want to play Dragon Quest 11. Like, I mean, I really enjoyed the demo, that I played a couple of months ago. But the only problem is that, like, right now, like the fall season or the holiday season is always, like, restacked with games. And, I mean, okay, so soon we will, talk about Yakuza Kiwami 2. Mm-hmm. And then, like, just yesterday, like, the new Xenoblade 2 expansion came out.
Ooh, I forgot about that. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, the physical release is coming out next week's Friday, but digitally it's out now. But yeah, it's a bit like I know that like Dragon Quest 11, like I know it's gonna be amazing, but it's such a time sink. So I'm a bit like when do I actually like find time to play it? Because I know it's gonna, be 100-hour long game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to play it.
I sympathize and strongly disagree. Let's move on.
So I think this is a good place to take a small break, and then we'll be back with what Paul's playing and obviously some Yakuza goodness. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everybody. So I think last we left off, we had just finished some Dragon Quest XI discussion. So Paul, why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Well, for listeners who don't know, usually we start recording at 6 a.m. Pacific time. For me, everybody else, it's a little bit later in the day. So sometimes, my brain is still a little bit groggy, and even more so now, because last night I could not stop playing Dead Cells. And I was up like way too late playing it. So when my alarm went off this morning, I set off 2 alarms actually, or I set up 2 alarms because if the first one doesn't take, often I'll just kind of turn it off and go back to sleep without really realizing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And this was definitely a 2 alarm morning. The first one I was just like, go away. And then the second one I'm like, oh wait, I have stuff to do. But yeah, man, Dead Cells, I've been playing it on the Switch, and like, god damn, man, that game is everything I want in like a 2D side-scrolling action game. Yeah. Everything I want. I personally love roguelike games because there's a little bit of there's some tension when you die because you kind of lose everything.
Yeah.
But Dead Cells does this in a less cruel way. You die and you lose all your weapons, you lose all the stuff you gained. So if you're having a particularly good run with particularly good weapons, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to get those weapons on your next run. Mm-hmm. But with that said, you do kind of still keep a few things, and those things accumulate as you play more and more games.
Okay.
So, it really introduces this kind of addictive element where you're slowly building up your character with each playthrough, and each playthrough you're kind of getting a little bit further, you're getting a little bit better. I can't say enough good stuff about this game. Like, I can't wait for us to finish recording so I can go fucking play Dead Cells.
Is it procedurally generated, or is it like the same level structure each time through?
It's procedurally generated, which again, to me, this is appealing, right?
Yeah.
I like not knowing, and I like the challenge of not being able to just kind of blindfold my way through a level that I know all very well. So it really keeps it very interesting, every single time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm just crazy, but I kind of like that aspect only because I think that it would get very stale very quickly if every time you died you have to go through these same exact levels. I think that's why these roguelikes have to be procedurally generated, because I think personally, since I'm not a skilled video gamer, I think that has been well established. If I had to go through the same level like more than maybe 6 or 7 times with the same enemies in the same places, I'd probably put the game down immediately. So the fact that they mix it up in every single aspect is just sort of hits that dopamine center where it's like one more run, one more chance. Who knows what I'm going to get this time? If I put it down now, maybe this will be the run where I get, the best loadout I've ever gotten or something like that.
Yeah. They know exactly what they're doing in that regard. They definitely set it up in a way that you'd want to do one more run over and over and over, much like I did last night. And the whole thing is so painless, right? Like, even when you die, yeah, it sucks, whatever. But the game itself is such a pleasure to play. Like, the controls are so tight, like the jumping, the dodging, the attacking. There's so many different ways you can attack enemies. It's almost borderline puzzle-like, because you have one particular enemy and you have all these different kinds of weapons you can get, and it's kind of a matter of figuring out what the best weapon is for particular enemies. And it does something now that I think any action game, they have to have some kind of dodge button these days. Like, if your action game doesn't have a dodge button, like, you're just missing out, right?
Yeah.
Like, part of the pleasure of Dead Cells is that you're attacking an enemy and then he's about to attack you, and if you time that dodge right and then you start attacking him from behind, it's just wildly satisfying. Yeah. Like, it makes you feel like you're actually good at the game. Conversely, if you fail at dodging and you eat shit, then you feel like an idiot, right? But it definitely rewards practice and skill. It's really exceeded. I was excited for it just from gameplay footage and so on, and it's one of the few games that's actually like exceeded expectations. My wife came home, I was lying on the couch yesterday playing it on the Switch, and I was like, and my wife does not give a shit about video games at all, right? But I'm just playing it, and I didn't get up and greet her. I didn't lift a finger to make dinner. I was just sitting there with a big smile on my face, like this, and I was like, we're just repeating, this game's really good. This game's really good, because it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And sorry, go on. Are you about to say
no,
that?
I was just gonna ask. I haven't really seen much footage of this game. I understand the concept, and I know that it's been well executed in this case because I've heard a lot of really good things about it. would you recommend? I'm not a huge fan of roguelikes just in general, because that level of sort of rinse and repeat and frustration has not sat well with me before. Do you think this is like beginner friendly enough where people who don't usually play it can get into it, or is this something that you probably need to like roguelikes to enjoy?
Man. See, if I'm being honest, you probably have to like roguelikes to enjoy it. But at the same time, right, like, it's, okay, look, it's not an easy game. And if you're turned off by roguelikes, yeah, maybe it's not for you. But at the same time, like, I cannot express to you how silky smooth the controls are. Like, they are, no, I'm serious, they are perfect. And the way the character animates in time with your button presses it's so fluid, it looks so good. There is nothing that happens in this game that is not my fault.
Okay.
Right? Like, if I jump and miss a ledge, it's my fault. If I attack an enemy and miss, it's my fault.
Yeah.
There's never a point in the game where I'm like, fuck this game. These controls are loose and so on, right? No, it's like, it's so smooth. It's such a pleasure to control. So even if you are not a fan of roguelikes, I would probably recommend it just because it is so smooth.
Gotcha. And I mean, that is definitely a positive, to know that, you know, the controls are not the reason you lost, but also my favorite thing to do is blame other things for my own shortcomings. So the fact that this game would not let me do that, I think is a con in my book.
Well, I don't know what else I can say to sell you this game, dude.
Awesome. Anything else that you've been playing recently, Paul?
Yeah, in addition to Dead Cells, I mean, I feel bad because we're going to be like getting into the topic for, you know, yet another 10 or 15 minutes, but I started playing Yakuza Kiwami last week.
Oh
yeah. And I'm like 10 hours in, and I'm both happy that I'm finally joining in on the Yakuza bandwagon, and also kind of like kicking myself because I really should have been playing this game many years ago. It's,
by the way, like why did you start with Kiwami and not with Zero?
Because that's what everybody recommended, right?
Come on, like, you should listen to me, like, don't listen to these other motherfuckers. Start with Zero. Like, yesterday, I actually, like, did a live stream, and I had, like, I don't know, like a 30-minute long monologue about, like, why you should start with Yakuza 0.
I don't disagree, but the reasons that I heard, I said I don't disagree, but actually I do. So, the reasons that I heard for starting with Kiwami, I thought were good. The game itself isn't as good as 0.
Yes.
So if you go from 0 to Kiwami's a little bit of a letdown.
Yes.
And
yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and when you play 0, there's a lot of inside jokes and a lot of stuff that if you've played the other Yakuza games, you'll appreciate it even more. So those were the reasons I started off with Kiwami. I still stand by it. Like, I know 0 objectively is the better game, and, you know, if I wanted the best Yakuza experience, I should have started with that. But I don't know, Kiwami, dude, I'm like 10 hours in on it, and I have no regrets.
Yeah,
I would have to say, like, okay, so Yakuza 0, like to me, that's the best starting point for a couple of reasons. Because, okay, so first of all, if you're interested in this series, I would say, like, play not Kiwami, but like Yakuza 0, because, like, if you don't like that game, then there's no way you will get into the Yakuza franchise. But also it sets up like so many different things in like future Yakuza games. Not like, okay, so I'm not saying that it's gonna set up like the future Yakuza games from like now. But it has like so many references to like like let's say Kiwami 1, 2, and Yakuza 6, and kind of feel like the first 4 PS4 games, like they kinda it's like one, like the most important thing like it would be like to play those 4 games, and then you can kind of wait on like Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 to show up on the PS4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely agree that there's a big difference when it comes to the level of like the gameplay, cause yeah, like Yakuza 0 is basically like the pinnacle of the old engine, like before they moved on to the Dragon engine, which we have now, which they have now used in Yakuza 6 and Kiwami 2. So, like, there's so much content, so many different fighting styles. It's kind of like that old engine they just took it to the, as far as they can. But then you go to Kiwami 1, which is a remake of a 2006 PS2 game. And, okay, so I would say story-wise, it makes sense to play Yakuza 0 first, because it kind of sets up, like to be honest, like the final boss or the antagonist of, Yakuza Kiwami, like it's gonna be like so much more like powerful and emotional, like the whole experience after you have played Yakuza 0, like, compared to like if you just play Kiwami.
I agree.
So,
if it's story-wise, it's definitely better to start with 0, just because it'll give you context for a lot of the stuff that happens going forward. But starting with 0 is a gamble, because if you go from 0 to Kiwami 1, there is definitely a drop in terms of the amount of stuff you can do, and the way the game plays is much improved in Yakuza 0. So if you play Kiwami first and play 0 afterwards, I think Kiwami has enough in it to get you interested in Yakuza, and then 0 will sort of solidify all the stuff that Kiwami's done right.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons either way. I don't necessarily think there's a right answer. But yeah, like that's pretty much my reasoning behind starting Kiwami. And I'm not even really going to get into the game itself, because we've gone over that already. What I will do is flash back to a few episodes ago, Arnie, where you said you had played every single thing except for Mahjong.
Oh, yes.
And
fuck that game.
Obviously, and because Mahjong's impossible to understand. So obviously, like, when I hear that, I'm like, I gotta play Mahjong.
And are you like a savant? Are you like a child prodigy of Mahjong?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, Mahjong's so weird, dude. Like, I can't believe I'm gonna talk about Mahjong here, but like, it's this game where whenever I'm successful, which I often am, because I mean, I do understand the rules at the most basic level, but nonetheless, whenever I'm successful, it just feels like an accident. Yeah. Right?
Like you never know why you did that thing.
Paul Sensei, please teach me how to play Mahjong, because I still don't know. After all these like Yakuza games, I still don't know.
Yeah, I'll set up a tutorial class on Instagram Live, and we can all follow along. But like the other reason it was appealing is because it's a tile game, and like the only other tile game I've played, which I'm sure many of us have played, is Dominoes, right? And part of the appeal of Dominoes, so like back when I was living in Toronto, I used to play Dominoes a lot with my two roommates there. And part of the appeal of Dominoes is when you get that winning domino and you smack it on the table, and it makes that really satisfying clicking sound, right? You just like, you've won, you've just smacked it right down. And I thought Mahjong might be like that. It's not. It's not. It's really very polite. You have these tiles and they make no noise whatsoever.
It's nice. It's a nice felt table for you. It's very soft.
Dude, it was such a letdown. Like I thought that when Kiryu like gets a winning tile or something, he would just like fucking windmill it right onto the table.
Just flip the whole goddamn thing over, like.
Yeah, just like smash it onto much like the manner in which we want our listeners to subscribe. We want them to smash that subscribe button. Yeah, like, that's how I thought.
As violent as possible.
Yeah, that's how I thought he was gonna play Mahjong. But no, sadly, that's not how it works. So I spent like an hour with it, and then kind of like questioned how I spend my time in general in life. And I think maybe I'm done with Mahjong in Yakuza. The other weird thing about it, again, can't believe I'm going on about Mahjong like this. Mahjong in Yakuza Kiwami, easily the most ridiculous use of my projector screen. Because, like, for those of you who don't know, like, I game on a projector. The screen is huge. It's 108 inches. And so I'm sitting there in the game room, and I've got 108 inches of Mahjong in front of me. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Paul, like, seriously, like, I challenge you to, make an Instagram post about that.
I was
like,
just
I
about
wanna
to
see
say,
that.
I was just about to say, you should, like, make a post, like, one of your game room pictures, and it's, like, game room vibes, and it's just a giant screen of, like, Yakuza Mahjong, and see if anybody comments on it.
That's going to have to happen now. Yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't even think about that at the time, but my save game right now is in the Mahjong parlor.
Oh,
I could
Lord.
probably whip up that picture in like 10 minutes.
That's easily gonna be 1 million likes.
But since we already started talking about it, I can't hold Masa back any longer. Masa, why don't you tell us about Yakuza Kiwami 2?
Okay, so first of all, game of the year. That's let's just end it here. Game of the year. That's all you have to know. Like, go buy the game, enjoy it, love it, game of the year.
All
No,
right.
so yeah, you probably want to know a bit more. But yeah, it's kind of like what I said earlier about Yakuza 0. Yakuza 0 also kind of sets up, Kiwami 2. But yeah, Kiwami 2, like a lot of Yakuza fans, when it comes to this story of the game, it's usually like mentioned as having like that, like Yakuza 2 has always been famous for, like having the best story out of all Yakuza games. And okay, so I'm not sure if it's the best one, but it's definitely up there. It's one of the best. Okay, so the ending. Okay, so yeah, like if you have played Yakuza games, yeah, I mean, that all these games have like very ridiculous plot twists.
I mean, Yakuza is my favorite Japanese soap opera of all time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like one of these things, like one of the best like comparisons that I saw. Like some people were talking about like, let's say like Kiwami 2 versus Yakuza 6, and Yakuza 6 is more movie-like, kinda. Mm-hmm. But then Yakuza, like Kiwami 2, like that's definitely a soap opera game. And it has like some of the most ridiculous plot twists that I've ever seen in like any video game. And like I remember, like, I mean, I beat the game, a few days ago. And when I got to the ending, I was a bit like, yeah, like, I mean, I saw all these things coming. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing special. And then all of a sudden, boom, like, what the fuck? Like, wait, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what is going on? But that being said, it's an amazing game. It uses the Dragon engine much like, Yakuza 6, except that it's been polished, a bit further. Like, I feel like the combat feels a bit better, and especially like one big thing as compared to Yakuza 6 is that you can like finally you can like carry weapons again. Okay. Like in Yakuza 6 you could, you can pick up a, bicycle off the street and, use it as a weapon, but here you can actually like, yeah, I mean, you have your own weapons that you can use. And also graphically, kind of feel like it looks a little bit better. There's a lot less like screen tearing, for example. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kamurocho and Sotenbori, the two cities featured in the game, they'll both look amazing. There's lots of like really great side quests. And it's definitely a step up from, like, okay, so yeah, for example, Paul has been playing Kiwami 1, and to be honest, like that game, like the side quests, a lot of them are just like, go from point A to point B, beat up a bunch of motherfuckers, and that's it. But in Kiwami 2, there's way more like the wacky kind of side quest that the series is known for nowadays.
Yeah.
For example, like I don't want to spoil any of these, but like this one was actually showed in the trailers. But there's like one side quest where you're just like walking down the street. All of a sudden, like a bunch of like Yakuza thugs, like they stop you and then they're like, yo, what the fuck is up? And then like, yeah, we will, like kick your fucking ass, motherfucker. And then it's like, well, okay, so yeah, let's fight. And then, you beat them up. And then all of a sudden, like this Yakuza boss comes up to you and he's like, yeah, I'm really sorry. Like, these are just like, Yakuza noobs. So they don't really know, like, they have no manners and stuff, but let me repay you. Like, come to my club and I'm gonna show you a good time. And there's like, okay, so yeah, let's go. And all of a sudden there's like a, kind of like a nurse-like character. And she's like, yeah, like, do you wanna change into like something more comfortable? Like, like, maybe you wanna wear diapers or something? And that's
my God.
And that's where it's a bit like, wait, what? Diapers? Like, what is going on? Like, yeah, maybe I should get the hell out of here.
I've seen this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like...
yeah, I saw a picture of that. I know what you're talking about. That's like, ridiculous.
Yeah, and then, like I think the nerd, like, you gotta get into a scuffle, and then, like the walls come breaking down and stuff, and then all of a sudden, you have the same Yakuza boss with his homies, and they are playing infants, basically. And it's like, wait, what the fuck is this shit?
Just like, fighting a bunch of adult men in diapers, basically.
Yeah,
I have a question.
I also have a question, but you go first.
And then you fight these guys, obviously.
Luke, your question first.
Okay, cool. Massa, have you played, like, did you play the original Yakuza 1 and 2 on the PlayStation 2?
I have actually played them both a little bit, but like I have not like finished them, so yeah.
I guess my question was like, how similar are the remakes? Have they added like story, or are they pretty spot on with the...
Okay, so when it comes to like, let's say, they have added more side quests, and they have taken like some side quests out. Especially like the ones that are like, let's say like, the world is very different in 2017 or 18 than as compared to like, 2006 and 2007. But like story-wise, like the cutscenes are actually the same, which is like, this is one thing. If you go from Yakuza 6 to Kiwami 2, Kiwami 2 kind of feels like a budget release compared to Yakuza 6. Yeah. Because Yakuza 6, it's the first, game on the new engine. Everything is fully voiced, all the side stories and stuff.
Yeah.
But in Kiwami 2, it's, like basically only the most important, like story scenes are voiced. And also this story scenes, they look a bit weird because they took a lot of those cutscenes from the PS2 games. So they look a bit rough, except that, like, they have the new character models, but like the backgrounds from the original game. So it's a bit of a weird mix. Obviously, like, it's higher resolution, so it doesn't look completely out of place, but yeah, it definitely feels a bit more like a budget release compared to Yakuza 6.
Gotcha. Cool.
Interesting. And my question, I think I heard you answer it. You do fight the diaper people, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not a ringing endorsement for this game, I don't know what is. Like, honestly.
Like, I'm not surprised that they, included that in the trailers.
Yeah. To add to Luke's question, also, I don't know about Yakuza 2, but I do know Yakuza 1 on PS2 was English dubbed. So there's no, I don't believe there is a Japanese.
Yeah, it even had Mark Hamill.
Yeah, as Majima.
Yeah.
But I don't believe there's a Japanese voice option for that game, correct? It's only in English.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I would highly recommend, Luke, you to look up cutscenes from that game, because the dubbing is, it's terribly elegant. It's amazing.
I've got one of the PlayStation 2 ones. I don't know if it's 1 or 2 though in the collection.
Okay.
If it's 1, I'll have to boot it up and give it a spin. I think it sounds like
it's a good time. There's definitely some choice scenes in that game, like dubbed in English, that are just perfection of like terrible dubbing.
I love a good
I think
bad
it's more
dub.
so the script writing, because they had like decent voice actors, but the script writing for it was just
But yeah, they had some like legit big names. Like, I think they had like Michael Madsen, Mark Hamill, and like some other big names too.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
it's kind of exceptional, especially like for a, like they didn't have like famous voice actors, but they had like famous actors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I gotta say, in retrospect, it's quite fitting that Mark Hamill would, voice Majima. Especially like since, like after that he would, go on to voice, the Joker in like the Arkham games.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, makes sense, eh?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess that just leaves me. I've also been playing Yakuza 0, but I think that we've touched on that one enough. And I love it.
No, we haven't. Come on. Like, we still have time left.
Because the one thing I will say about Yakuza is that it's one of the few game series where whenever a new game comes out or they remake one of the old ones or anything, I'm hoping that they don't change that much. Because it's so its own thing that if they started messing with it too much, I feel like it would lose some of that charm. So I'm always like, just add more stuff, but keep the core of it the exact same. I don't care. But aside from Yakuza, the only other thing I've really been playing is Alien Infestation on the Nintendo DS. I've been playing a lot of like 3DS and DS games lately, probably because I don't own a Switch, so it's the easiest way to play video games and watch TV at the same time.
There's so many gems in that library, though. Like
There
between
really
the
are.
DS and 3DS, there's so many good games. I still play
Yeah.
my 3DS over the Switch when I'm doing.
Well,
handheld.
especially the fact that the 3DS is backwards compatible, it just gives you such a library of insane stuff to play.
Yeah, there's like 50 million
yeah.
Dragon Quests, and I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Which that's how I started playing Dragon Quest, was on the DS. I think
Nice.
9 was the first one I played.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I've played, 4, 5, and 6. I haven't gotten the 3DS ones yet, but Alien Infestation's been my newest, like, DS game du jour. And I've been really enjoying it. It was weird. We were talking a little bit about the way the mechanics work. It's basically like you have a team of 4 Marines starting off, and there's permadeath. So if anybody on your squad dies, you just move on to the next character. And at first this was like kind of heartbreaking for me because Fire Emblem has like conditioned me to reset my game every time like one of my characters dies, because I just can't handle that sort of emotional impact on my psyche. But this game is like, it's just hard because the way they designed it is like you're supposed to, like, people are supposed to die. You're not supposed to like sort of walk through this whole game without losing anybody. The aliens are hard as hell to hit. They are strong. And you get like weapon upgrades and stuff that makes it a little bit easier to handle them, but they show up everywhere and like sometimes unexpectedly. But so what ends up happening is you have you have 4 slots on your roster, and whenever you lose a Marine, you have an open slot. So if you find other Marines across the different levels, they will join you, but they will only join you if you have an open slot. So I like that dynamic of losing characters is a bummer because you miss out on that character's sort of, what they bring to your team and also their unique dialogue and stuff. But you also get the ability to pick up new team members that maybe you like better, or you wouldn't have been able to interact with otherwise. Aside from that, it's a fairly short game. I think I've actually only put like maybe 3-4 hours into it, and I'm like 85% of the way done with it.
Ooh, how appealing.
But yeah, so it's fairly short, but it is difficult. Especially the boss battles. Like I've lost like 2 or 3 Marines in a single boss fight multiple times. So I think it does encourage like multiple playthroughs. And there are different like mini games you can unlock and stuff like that. So it's definitely not like something you're going to sink a ton of time into, but it's a very good like pick up and play sort of experience. Very well crafted. I don't want to get this wrong, but I think it's level 5. It's Way Forward. It's Way Forward.
Okay, yeah, good. I'm like, level 5?
Yeah, no, it's Way Forward developed, so solid presentation, graphics are great, like it really works within the Alien universe. Like if you like the movies, you'll probably like this game. It's got that sort of feel to it. But I
do have to backpedal here though and ask you one question.
Yeah.
What kind of game is it?
It's basically if I was to describe it as a run and gun, that would not be 100% accurate. And I think Metroidvania would be also not 100% accurate. You definitely like pick up upgrades along the way and you go back to different levels, and there's like an exploratory aspect to it, because the main hub is this like freighter ship that as you progress, you unlock new abilities by getting items that'll let you open up new doors and access new areas to fight more aliens, obviously, and different bosses. So it's probably a cross between like a Metroidvania and an action sort of shooter game. It's all sprite based, so it's not, over the shoulder or anything like that. It's a side scrolling sort of angle, but it's all gun based. You only have guns, and you can't have multiple guns on you at the same time. So that's the other thing, is it's a lot of like item management and going back and restocking on supplies and stuff like that. But yeah, to make a very simple question very convoluted and long, Metroidvania with like some run and gun aspect to it.
But yeah, I would say like
cool.
One thing that should be mentioned, that the game was it was developed by Way Forward, who are mostly known for Shenmue, and they've actually done a lot of like movie and cartoon tie-ins.
Yeah. Which honestly probably attributes the price of this game. I think complete, it's about $45 US. Unless you find it at GameStop, in which case it's like $20, I think.
Yeah, I found it cheap at my local game store.
Nice.
Yeah, picked it up because I knew about the price, but I haven't played it yet.
Yeah, it's definitely like, it's not going to take up a whole lot of your time, for sure. It is hard as hell though. Like, I've had to look up multiple boss fights to figure out how to beat them, because I just don't like, especially the bosses when you're fighting like a queen alien or something like that, that's like pretty much the size of the screen. And you're just like maybe a third of her size. It gets a little crazy.
Cool.
I think I'm just going to stick with my cutesy, fun, happy Dragon Quest for now.
Hey, Luke, here's a question.
Yeah, shoot.
What kind of, because I saw you post it the other day. What kind of game is Rocket Slime?
Ooh, good question.
Oh, I've heard so many good things about that game.
Yeah, it's awesome. What kind of game is it? It's kind of like, oh God, I got nothing. I don't know what to compare it to, because I can't think
what
of
do you
anything
do,
like it. From memory, you have to control some sort of ship or something, and so you run around within like the inside of it, and make sure it's all functioning correctly in battles.
Interesting. That is not what I expected.
Yeah, it's
no, me neither, not at all.
It's kind of quite unique in that regard, and it's not turn-based or anything. It's not like all the other Dragon Quest games.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, because like everybody I've ever like heard talk about this game raves about it. They're like, this is the one, like the best Dragon Quest spin-off. Like, I love it. Like, nobody I've ever talked to has ever said a bad thing about it, but I have no idea what the game is like.
Yeah.
So now that you've given me a description, it's kind of making me want to look into it more. Because recently I had just finished Dragon Quest Monsters Joker 2.
Oh, cool. How was it?
Yeah, and so that was a nice little take on the sort of battling monster mechanic.
Yep.
Which
beautiful graphics for the DS.
Yes, it was very like, I don't know, it was, I really enjoyed it because, especially at the end, it tells you where each monster, like which mainline Dragon Quest game each monster is from. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect the depth I got from it from a Dragon Quest spin-off game. And I think that's the thing, is like, some of these Dragon Quest spin-offs there's so much work like put into them that they sort of feel like mainline entries in the series.
So Monsters Joker is turn-based, right, from memory?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's kind of plays out a bit like Pokemon in that you can capture the monsters.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pokemon sort of meets Persona, I guess, because there's fusions. So basically
Gotcha.
you breed them. I guess Monster Rancher is a better comparison
Gotcha.
because you breed them and then you can sort of like see the family tree of like the monster you've bred.
Yeah.
And they inherit abilities from their parent monsters.
Gotcha. I'm just looking at, I've just cheated to refresh my memory. I'm looking at some gameplay for Rocket Slime. It's been like so many years, but I was close. You're kind of on like the ship thing. It was more like an army tank actually. But you're running around the inside managing, inventory almost inside.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you on the top screen, there's like, your tank will be battling another tank, and then on the bottom screen is like your slime on the inside running around the inside, managing, putting ammunition into cannons and stuff like that. So it's
cool.
kind
Yeah,
of
that
like
sounds
this
bizarre.
live action management game. Yeah, it's super fun and interesting. Yeah.
It sounds like what was that like computer indie game? Is it Faster Than Light? Where you control a ship,
Yeah.
but you're just inside the ship and you control different aspects of it. Like as you're in battle, you have to like fix stuff in real time and stuff like that.
It sounds like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds.
And let me tell you, Faster Than Light, fantastic. I downloaded not the sequel, but I downloaded the developer's new game recently. I still haven't played it yet though, but when I do, I'll probably talk about it here. I loved Faster Than Light.
Awesome. So I think that is as good a place as any to segue into one last break before we come back with some listener questions. So stay tuned, y'all. And we're back. All right. So, now we're going to be moving on to listener questions. These are questions that we source from our lovely listeners who follow us on Instagram. So please be sure to look out for future posts asking for questions. If you want your question read on the show, we've gotten a ton of questions because our listeners are fucking awesome. So we probably won't be able to go through all of them. We'll do our best. But rest assured that if we don't get to them today, we'll definitely get to them at a future episode. So let's see. Let's start with this question. Comes to us from Oddly. He says, developers and publishers are relying on nostalgia or the pull of a established IP. Besides loss of money, why will developers not take a risk on a brand new IP? Paul.
Well, I think the answer was actually in the question, right? Like it's loss of money. I think what they should be doing, and I mean, look, I'm not in the industry, so I can't say for sure, but like when we were doing our episode, when we were talking about Final Fantasy VII
Yeah.
and Square's kind of experimental 32-bit era, I don't know, that seems to me like the way to go. If you have a really successful IP and you've made a lot of money from it, take that money, reinvest it into trying to develop something new. That seems to me to be the ideal way to go. Although, it is admittedly simplistic. Like, I think in reality, if you have something that makes a lot of money, probably, a lot of that's going to your shareholders.
Yeah. I think it's not necessarily the loss of money. I think it's the initial investment. I think making games nowadays, especially for bigger platforms, is just expensive, just in general. Especially if you're doing, a sort of AAA style, full-blown 3D experience on any of the three major systems. It's probably going to be a large capital investment. Whereas before, I think it was less expensive to make these games because you could make them with less people.
I mean, this is where indies thrive these days, though. Like, this is what indies are doing.
Yes.
They're filling that hole.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say too, Luke, is I think the new IPs are indie games. I think the indie industry is where we're going to get this stuff from, and companies will invest in indie studios or indie games that they think have potential to be expanded upon.
Absolutely.
And I mean, not to like go on and on about Dead Cells, but but it really is like, it's a very good example. There is no, I shouldn't say there's no other game like it, because I don't know. There's thousands of games out there. Maybe there is something like Dead Cells, but personally, I haven't played something like Dead Cells. I wouldn't, it's just this kind of genre mashup that I haven't seen before. And would I have gotten that from EA? Almost certainly not.
Yeah. And I think it'll also be on the shoulders of publishers. I think publishers wanting to take a risk on publishing some of these smaller games, like Sodesco does a lot of, I know, smaller game publishing. Like they just released Owlboy, which was a big one for them, and that developer who'd been working on that game for like a decade, I think, or something like that. So publishers also being willing to take risks on smaller indie games to release on, consoles, I think will also be a big factor in, whether we see a lot of new IPs. Obviously, now with digital games, you don't even need to have a publisher anymore. You can just release your game on your own and see how far that takes you.
Yeah, and every once in a while, you'll have a Stardew Valley, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's just like one dude, labor of love, or even better, Minecraft.
Yeah. Lord, the obscene amounts of money. Oh, this one I thought was interesting, and I wanted to get takes on it, especially since Luke was here. It says, if you were to get sucked into a video game world, which game would it be and why?
I'm probably a little biased right now. Can I say Dragon Quest? Is that cheating?
Of course you can. You can say whatever you want.
Someone else answer. I'll have a think.
I'll have a think. Masa, what about you?
Okay, so actually, like, my girlfriend asked me this, like, very same question a while ago. And I was like, okay, so when it comes to game worlds, I'm a big fan of, like, when you, like, let's say, like, Yakuza and Persona, like, when you, like, take a real world location and then turn it to, like, game world. Like, I'm a big fan of that, but, like, what would be the point of me? Like, I can go to Kabukicho anytime. Or, Tokyo or whatever. It's like, I mean, it's the same, but then, I think my favorite would actually be like, I tried thinking about like something a bit more, different and wacky. Yeah. But, I think, I'm in the bedroom and I'm actually surrounded by Pikachu plushies. Like there's literally like 3 Pikachu plushies on my desk right now. I would have to say Pokemon. Like I think Pokemon would be interesting in a way that it's fairly similar, to like our world. Mm-hmm. But then you have like all this like really, both like cute and, dangerous or like really interesting like animal creatures. So yeah, I would have to go with Pokemon.
Yeah. What about you, Paul?
There's gonna be no surprise here. Like for me, it would be like the world of Phantasy Star.
Okay.
And because you have all the fantastic magic stuff, but you have all the technology stuff, so it's like I get to cast spells and have a working toilet.
This was actually like my point that I wouldn't like. My girlfriend asked me like, well, like wouldn't you wanna, get transported into like Hyrule in Breath of the Wild? And I was like, well, I mean, I love that game, I love the world, but like, come on, like I would get killed in like 5 minutes, so I want something more safe like Pokemon.
That's exactly what I'm thinking as well.
You and me were on the same wavelength, Masa, because I was also going to say Pokemon, because as much as I love, like, for example, say Kamurocho in Yakuza, I don't want some crazy motherfucker like beating me over the head with a motorcycle. And,
yeah, exactly. And then you go to a hostess bar and, spend like thousands of dollars there.
Yeah.
And you will be broke and then, you get out and then you get beat up and stuff. So, yeah.
And then I was like, oh, maybe like somewhere like Inaba, like in Persona 4 would be cool. Like that'd be fun. But then I was like, unless I get thrown into a television and violently murdered by like demons.
That's less optimal. Yeah.
So at least in Pokemon, I could, live my lazy like life on my fucking Gyarados or whatever. And the worst thing that could happen to me is like Team Rocket could try to steal my shit.
Okay, so I've thought about it. And again, I had the same thought process that you guys had. I was like, okay, what are my favorite games? oh no, they're dangerous worlds to live in. I was like, I'm not going to live in Saints Row 3 because I have beaten people to death with a giant purple,
dildo.
Yeah. And I don't want to be on the receiving end of that. So, I think I'll stick with Dragon Quest because I know there'll always be a hero and his sidekicks to defeat evil. I can just kick back in my cute little village. But also Animal Crossing because there's no bad in there.
Animal Crossing's a good one.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right, so this one is a Masa request, so I will read it because I'm also interested to know. It's okay. So this is a 3-part question essentially. It says, what's an anime you'd like to see turned into a game you'd like to see turned into a movie, and a movie you'd like to see turned into an anime?
Such a good such a good question.
I actually okay, so I'm just gonna answer like the first part. And this is like something interesting because I love video games, but I also really love anime. So, like I chose like 6 different anime shows, and I even went as far as to like pick like the game style and also like the developer for these games. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I really got into this. Okay, so first of all, we have ReZero, which is like one of the most talked about anime, shows this past like few years. I think I would like to see Bandai Namco making, like an adventure game out of it because they are really great at making anime games. Mm-hmm. My second one would be Darling in the Franxx, which is, like the most, I would say it's the biggest anime of, 2018. And I would like to have, okay, so first of all, it would be directed by Yoko Taro.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
you got like the staff credits.
Yeah, because like serious, like the plot and the story of that show is like really, really out there, and it's at times really fucked up. But it would have to be, done by Platinum Games, because it's basically an mecha action anime. So I think Platinum would be the right one for that game. And then because I'm a big Yakuza fan, and also a couple of like older favorite animes that I have, Samurai Champloo and then Cowboy Bebop. I really would love to see like Sega's Ryoga Kotoku Studio, make like kind of like Yakuza clones of those, kind of like they just did Fist of the North Star.
I can get behind that.
Yeah, because like those games, I kind of feel like they would be perfect. It'd be like Samurai Champloo, like they have like all these like really wacky kind of like side things.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it would be perfect for them. And then I have one last one, and this will be the weirdest one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So there's this like slice of life anime called Laid Back Camp. And it's about, high school girls about camping. Like, they just, they go on these like camping trips near Mount Fuji and so on.
Okay.
So I would like to see a collaboration between Nintendo using the Breath of the Wild engine and then Hideo Kojima as the director, because obviously like he's working on a, walking/camping simulator called Death Stranding at the moment. So I think that would be perfect. Like, yeah, make a, camping simulator out of that.
All right. And what about a game that you'd like to see turned into a movie, and a movie you'd like to see turned into an anime?
I'm gonna let others like answer that one.
Yeah, a game into a movie. I don't know, Luke, you got anything?
No, but I was going to ask, doesn't Yakuza have a film already?
Yeah,
there's a couple of live action ones.
And it's actually like directed by Takeshi Miike. One of the like famous, one of the most famous like Japanese directors.
I know as well.
The man behind Django and Ichi the Killer. So yeah.
Wow, that actually makes it more interesting now, because game into movie ordinarily, not so great.
Yeah.
But Takashi Miike, yeah, I can get on board for that. I'll have to put that one on the list. Yeah. You know what? Game into movie? Here's what I want. Okay, so I've been playing a lot of Windjammers lately. And so what I want is a movie that's in the aesthetic of the Top Gun volleyball
I was literally
scene.
about to say that. Legit.
But it's just Windjammers, and the whole movie is just like the tournament, and eventually it gets to the end, and sort of like sort of like in Bloodsport, right? Where you have like where you're kind of introduced briefly to all the major players, but there's like a couple that you know are going to meet in the end, and it's got that aesthetic. That's what I want. I want a Windjammers movie that's Top Gun Bloodsport.
All right. I could get behind that. I would pay money to watch that. Luke, you've got any for any of these?
No, look, not really. Like, I'm so skeptical. I'm so skeptical about games to movies.
Yeah.
Things. So like I could list off a bunch of my favorite franchises, but I know the movie adaptations are just not going to be as good. But I hear Uncharted's in the works already. And I mean, those games are so like cinematic already. So I don't know if they could do it justice, but probably not.
Yeah. I mean, as far as game to movie, it's hard because I love RPGs, but those would make terrible movies.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
If like adapted straight up, it'd have to be something like Gears of War or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like something. Actually, you know what? Grand Theft Auto Vice City. I want that movie.
Oh,
I want that movie.
But we already have Scarface.
I know, we already have Scarface.
I don't care. Make it again. Make it better this time.
I was thinking,
as far as
briefly, I was thinking Psychonauts. Have any of you played Psychonauts?
Ooh, yeah.
Wow.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool one.
That'd be a crazy movie. I'd love that.
Yeah. I think that'd be interesting though.
Mm.
As far as movie turned into an anime, Old Boy, I think would be a legit good anime. I don't know if
hell yeah.
Sign me up, yeah.
That would be amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what else I'd like? I'd like any Fast and Furious movie as an anime.
Oh, have you never seen Initial D?
That's the point, basically, that I'm trying to make.
Just 2018, like, just get Dwayne The Rock Johnson to like speak Japanese for 30 minutes.
That's kind of where I'm going with it. I want it to be like. See, the thing about Initial D though is that it's just confined
true.
Sort of quote unquote conventional racing. Yeah. Whereas if it was a Fast and Furious anime, they'd be able to drive a car
on like a missile,
bust through a skyscraper window, and yeah, exactly right. Like they can just do so many even more over the top things.
Oh Lord.
That the series is kind of known for now. But anyway,
have you guys seen The Raid?
Yes.
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
That could make a cool anime.
Oh, that would be a great game.
Interesting. All right, so this one's a little more personal. It says, what was the first game that made you a passionate gamer? Paul, why don't you kick us off on this one?
Well, I mean, I've already answered this question on the podcast before. It's Phantasy Star.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Luke with Dragon Quest VIII, right? Like, except that I'm, several orders of magnitude older than him. But like Phantasy Star was the first RPG that I played, and it wasn't the first game, but like it's the first game that I really fell in love with. And once that one was done, it's like I'm hooked. I'm done. Like this is going to be a hobby for life in all likelihood.
Gotcha. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, so I mean, my love for gaming started on the 64. That was like the first console I remember playing. So Super Mario and Zelda Ocarina of Time were like
solid choices all
kickstarted for me, yeah. And so like I still hold Zelda as like my favorite game of all time. It's just good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, as I mentioned, Dragon Quest sort of kicked off the love for JRPGs, and that's sort of where I started collecting as well. Was after I played Dragon Quest, I was like, oh, there's more JRPGs in the world, and that's when I start. And because obviously, like they're always tricky to find, especially on like the PS2 and stuff. Like all the stores had like all the action games and the popular shooters and stuff, but JRPGs were always a pain in the butt to find. So
yeah,
for me, that's where my love for collecting also started. That like PS2 was my first collecting point. So yeah, so sort of a mix of those three, I'd say.
Yeah. How about you, Masa?
Like for me, the first game I ever played was the first Super Mario Brothers game, and I actually after that I played a lot of like NES games, But I would have to say the first game that like really made me fall in love with gaming would have to be A Link to the Past. Because I remember like that was the very first game, that was a bit bigger. Like on the NES, a lot of these games were like fairly short. And a lot of like really arcade, like games. But I got like really obsessed with A Link to the Past and kind of I think that was like the very first video game ever that I played it, like I tried to complete like 100% and I actually, used a guide at points. Like I don't really remember like guides being a big thing before that kinda. Because I mean, we didn't really get like most of the actual JRPGs here. But yeah, I would have to say, A Link to the Past and that, and the funny thing, I actually borrowed the game from my friend, over 20 years ago and I still have the copy. So yeah, I'm really sorry, dudes. Yeah.
Classic friend maneuver.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
For me, it was definitely Legend of Dragoon on PS1 initiated my love. Is probably either that or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on PS1.
Ooh,
those were the first two games that I really got really into, even though I started gaming on the Super Nintendo. And then Persona 4 is really the one that reignited that passion once it sort of fizzled out during high school. So that was a question by Danny Banaus. I actually remembered I've forgotten to read the names of people who asked us questions. Boo. I'm so sorry. And so I think this might be a good one to maybe end on, depending how much time we have left. But Regional asks, have you guys ever come to an understanding on the best RPG of all time? If so, which one? And I don't think we've ever come to a consensus, but I'm very interested on hearing everybody's take on why it's Persona 4.
Yeah, that's why I want to hear Luke and his opinion on why Persona 4 is the best RPG.
I have not played Persona 4.
Oh, Lord.
Oh my God! Wait. What the hell? Oh, come on!
Wait.
Like, you have, like, all this time you have been one of my favorite Instagrammers, and that's like, oh my God. Unfollow.
Give the man a second.
I recently was like, I'm never going to have the time to play Persona 4. I live a busy life these days. It's rare I can sit down and play a JRPG. Dragon Quest being an exception.
Yeah.
So I was like, but there's an anime adaptation. So I watched the anime for Persona 4. So I'm up to date with the story, I guess. But I've never played the game.
How did you like the anime?
I enjoyed it immensely. It was just after I came back from Japan and I sort of had found this like weird love for anime as a genre after experiencing, like real life. I guess like Japan's so anime in real life. So it was really cool to like come back and then watch Persona 4 and like see all the little details and like little Japanese quirks and stuff. And yeah, so I really appreciated that as well as the crazy storyline and twists and turns. It was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Well, now that we've sort of bullied you into admitting that you haven't played Persona 4.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us what you actually think is the best JRPG of all time? Cut it. We're ready. That was it. Best answer.
Yeah, I know that game. It's
just the exasperated screams of all JRPG fans.
Game of the year. I don't know. I've got a lot that like I really love, but
yeah.
Can I say like does Kingdom Hearts count?
Yeah.
As a JRPG?
I would say so.
No,
you don't think so?
Sorry. I have to veto this one. Yeah.
You'd call it an action RPG?
Sure, we can call it that. But
it is from Japan.
We need another one. I never said being on the show is going to be easy. We need another
one. Okay, I do like all the Tales of games. I think they're all wonderful.
Okay.
Probably, I mean, for me, Dragon Quest VIII, just because it's got that nostalgia attachment.
Yeah, For sure.
Dude. Nothing wrong with that answer. I'll take that one over Kingdom Hearts.
Thank you.
That's a big part of a lot of this stuff. So
yeah.
Paul, why don't you tell me what you think the best JRPG is?
Well, I mean, it's like, look, I think we're all gonna agree that it's Persona 4, minus Luke, and that's okay. But like, much like you, Arnie, Persona 4 is the game that got me back into gaming, right? Like, I was kind of out of it for a couple of years. I was training for my job and so on and so forth. And, you know, I kind of just sat down one day and I'm like, oh yeah, Persona 4. I remember hearing about this years ago. And, you know, I played it for like an hour every day, more or less, you know, depending on what I was doing that day. Yeah. Sometimes 2 hours, sometimes 0. But at the end of 3 months or 4 months or however long it took me, probably closer to 6 if I'm being honest, I was like, wow, this was amazing. And it didn't really impact my lifestyle very much to play games for an hour or 2 each day. I didn't really feel like I was wasting my time. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? This is a great hobby. And if there are more games like Persona 4 out there, I think I'm going to enjoy it for a long time.
Guys, can I change my answer?
Sure. We play fast and loose with the rules here.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Okay.
Oh,
not a bad one.
The first one.
The first one. The second one was good as well, but the first one, for me, it's the best storyline I've ever played through, and the gameplay holds up. You know, it's good. It's fun. It's it's classic. It's really good.
Yeah. Did you play it on the Wii or the new 3DS port of it?
I played it on the new 3DS.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
because I was like, officially declaring the Wii the greatest JRPG machine of all time. Luke Likes Games, 2018.
That's it.
Yeah. What about you, Masa? What's the top JRPG?
Okay, so like, to be honest, I'm a bit conflicted. Like, okay, so here's the thing. Like, Persona 4 is actually the game that got me into JRPGs, like really big time. And nowadays it's might even be like overall my favorite genre. And of course it's the most iconic Persona game, like no questions. Like the story is amazing. The characters, like out of every like freaking video game cast ever, like Persona 4, like it has the best cast of characters ever. Like the main bodies, like I love literally like every character in that game.
Yeah.
But then I have to say, when it comes to gameplay, gameplay-wise, Persona 5 is superior in, like, every possible way.
Yeah.
Maybe not story-wise, and like I just said, like, the characters in Persona 5, I mean, they are great, but, like, you can't beat Persona 4. So, but, you know, since I'm, you know, like, Paul is, you know, holding a gun to my head, I'm just gonna say Persona 4. So.
Thank you. I
so,
didn't
yeah,
want
like,
to pull
just
it. I didn't want to pull the trigger.
Like, whatever I said about Persona 5, even like gameplay-wise, like, Persona 4 is better.
Yeah. And here's the thing, is that I do agree with you that in terms of like combat mechanics and how all that is structured and general moment-to-moment gameplay, Persona 5 is probably the better game. But the thing about Persona 4 that, you know, just puts it head and shoulders above anything else for me is the fact that, especially in an RPG, the combat was probably the least important thing for me. The fact that, you know, this was the first game where I legitimately was invested in these characters. It was the first time that, you know, the setting sort of became, the setting of a game sort of became something that I, you know, looked forward to and also missed when I finally finished it. It sort of became, you know, a very, integral part of my, you know, video game life, in that every time I played it, it was always enjoyable. I always loved coming back to it. And, you know, like, for you, Luke, not having actually played the game, but seeing the anime, I think Persona 4 is probably the best game that you could do that with, because the only thing that you're really cutting out is the combat and the dungeons and stuff like that, which is honestly probably the worst part of that entire game, is like the dungeon design and like all that
no doubt
stuff.
about it.
Yeah.
but you're still keeping, while sort of truncated and compressed, you're still keeping the character interactions and the story beats that are really what makes that game like so good. It's an RPG where combat almost doesn't even matter.
And also no silent protagonist in the anime.
I was going to say, tying it back to what we were talking about earlier, they gave him a voice in the anime.
They sure did.
Yep.
They sure did. And they gave him a name, actually, because he did not have a name originally in the game. So they also named him.
Which I'm really happy with, because like when you're having a conversation with people and you're talking about who the character is, it's always awkward when the character doesn't have a name.
Yeah. Well, they also named him Yu, so
which is
so kind of
a little bit clever, I guess.
So they worked it out in their minds how they wanted to do all that.
Yeah.
But basically, because I haven't watched the entire anime because I always end up getting distracted with something else when I'm watching it. But from what I can see, it really is just the best parts of that game distilled into a sort of watchable form for 30 minutes. So, if you ever do get the chance to play it, I would still highly recommend it. But the experience, I think, is still there. Obviously, it's a lot more impactful when you follow the characters around for 100+ hours as opposed to 26 episodes.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But the game holds up.
So here's a question for you, Luke. I haven't seen the anime. Do they have the cross-dressing pageant in the anime?
Yes.
Oh, good, because that's like one of the best parts of the game. I laughed out loud.
The
when
anime
I was
actually
playing it.
includes all the the classic scenes and even some of the social link scenes.
Yeah.
But there's also another Persona 4 anime released after Before Golden. It's like Before Golden animation, and that's a bit of a mess because it basically, I'm still hoping that they would release a director's cut featuring both anime, because the first few episodes of the Golden anime, it's a mess because it's just all these extra scenes.
So
it's okay,
the Golden...
yeah, and then the ending is fine because when you finally get to the more meatier part of Persona 4 Golden, where it kind of continues the story. That's fine, but the first few episodes are, just a mess.
And Golden runs half of the length as well. It's half the episodes.
Yeah.
So they've had to squeeze it into...
Yeah, they really had to compress everything in there.
Yeah.
Will you be watching the Persona 5 animation as well, Luke?
Probably when it comes around. It's not out on home media here yet. I usually buy them on Blu-ray, so...
Yeah.
I actually
played see how that one compares.
I played the first 20 hours of Persona 5 actually, so I've got sort of some grounds on what it's about. So it'll be cool to follow that story through. Yeah.
All right. Do we have time for one more question, or should we wrap it up at this point?
I think we're wrapping it up.
All right. So, just to wrap up, guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, it means a ton to us, and every time we see the response we get to one of these episodes, it just motivates us to keep doing it. So keep doing what you're doing, keep interacting with us, keep liking, subscribing on all our social media platforms, leave us reviews on iTunes and any other platform you listen to this on. So just as we wrap up, Luke, where can people find you? And feel free to give some shout outs or plug anything you're working on right now.
You can find me on Instagram at Luke Likes Games. Same place on YouTube as well, youtube.com/Luke Likes Games.
Awesome. What about you, Paul? Where can we find you?
Instagram at Pauls_GameRoom.
Okay. And Masa?
On Instagram, MasaCharvinen09.
Awesome. And you can find me mostly on the Region Free Gamers Instagram account. That's at Region Free Gamers, all one word. We also have a Twitter and a YouTube account that you can follow, both at Region Free Gamers. And my personal Instagram account is at Welcome to the Game. That's the word welcome, 2, the game. And I think that was it. This was a good ass time, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks again, Luke, for for being gracious enough to join us for this sort of experimental discussion / Q&A we had today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun because like usually I listen to the podcast, but this is like a live performance of the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
now
that's
you'll
funny.
get to listen to your own voice and hate it just as much as we do
Oh,
whenever we listen to ours.
I'm not listening to this one. I'll skip this.
Maybe we should do like a Luke-free version of this episode.
Just edit you out and send you
cut me
the
out.
raw file.
only for Luke.
Please,
Awesome.
thank you. Yes, please do.
But once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. This is the Region Free Gamers podcast signing off.